Hello, everybody. Look at all these people. Wonderful. While we are all gathering, and it seems like I think we had over 70 signups. I'm expecting quite a few people here. I'd love to hear in the chat where you're from, what part of the state of California, or sometimes we get people from out of state. That would be interesting too. I'll start. So go ahead and put it there. Great. El Dorado Hills, South Orange County, Arash. Me from San Diego. Tom from the Bay Area. Sacramento is represented by Christopher. Dan, North County, San Diego. Hi, Dan. I know you. Mountain View, Sonoma. Carmichael, which is in the Sacramento area. That's Janet. Nathan, San Francisco. June from Hemet. Los Angeles from Represent Us too. That's wonderful to get some cross nonprofit work going on there. Christopher from San Diego, North County. Who else do we have? Nevada County, Ron up there in Nevada County. John in San Francisco. Hey, John.
How do you respond?
Great. Fantastic. Let's keep seeing who else shows up. We'll give people a few minutes here to come on in. I see some names that I recognize. Marissa, hi. She just did some volunteering for us, data entry for us this last week. Thank you, Marissa. Carter, hi. Amy, I just met you last weekend. Hello. Mike Buchanan, great. We've got a lot of people. Paulo Elso, hi, Mickey. It's good to see you here. Chuck, hi. Chula Vista, I saw you this weekend as well, this past weekend. Wonderful. Okay. And Sunnyvale, we've got news for you, Mike, in Sunnyvale tonight. And Sharon in San Diego, very good. North County, we're getting a lot of people from North County, San Diego. I like that. Althea's from Richmond, very good. Well, it's really great to see everybody. It's 3 after. What do y'all think? Should we get started? We have an actual jam-packed agenda tonight. Tonight we are going to walk through with all of you the strategy and guiding principles that we decided on in our annual planning back in December. And then we're going to go through some of the really specific regions, cities, and counties where we are going to have active efforts going on this year in 2024, this election year. And then we've got some information about upcoming events and time for Q&A as well. So with all of that, thank you for Tom telling me to make this slide, to get this slide up here. I recognize quite a few of you, but there were a lot of names in there, and I think we have a lot of new people signed up into CalRCB that may not have been to any one of our CalRCB events. So we want to recommend, if ranked choice voting is a pretty new concept to you, or you know a little bit about it, but you have questions about the nuances and how it works, we have an online session called CalRCB Intro and Get Involved, and we run it twice a month, ongoing. And so if you feel like that would be useful for you to learn a little bit more about ranked choice voting and to ask the kind of questions that would really get you well informed, then you can read that QR code with your phone right now and sign up for one of those intro and get involved sessions. Or if you don't want to do it via phone, the URL is mobilize.us/CalRCB. And that will get you to our events page, and you can sign up for one of those. And we really welcome everybody who's new here and keep bringing new people in. We're going to have a busy year, and we want as many new supporters as we can get this year. All right, that's my part. Now I'm going to hand it over to Tom.
Or to Althea.
Oh, I'm sorry, Althea.
That's okay. So
apologies.
That's okay. Hi all, my name's Althea Skinner. I am a Cal RCV exec team member, and if you want to go to the next slide, Tom, I'm going to tell you all about our executive team retreat that we held in December. So in the beginning of December last year, the executive team of Cal RCV met in San Diego for a 2-day retreat that we do annually to develop a strategy and action plan between now and November 2024. We really built on the lessons from the last 2 years. So I want to take a moment to thank volunteers who participated in the pre-retreat survey. It was helpful to have more perspectives in the room than could be present in person. So in terms of who was there in person, we had Marcela Miranda Caballero, our new executive director, who joined us in November 2023. She is on the far right of this photo and was supposed to make her debut this evening, but is sadly down for the count with COVID. So you have to suffer through my partial presentation and Tom's in terms of our retreat outcomes. Also present was Tom, co-founder and board member there in the center. He's wearing the same sweater tonight, so you'll know to recognize him. I helped to plan and facilitate the retreat, as did Kate DeYoung, who you just heard from. And we were really grateful to Kate for helping us to gain access to a really great space for it as well. In addition, Arash Sayadi was there, and he's on the far left, head of operations. Amari Magaha was there. She's between Tom and Arash. Jim Lindsay in the back between Amari and Tom, also co-founder and exec member. Guy Camilleri is a board member, and we've been really grateful for his support and amazing connections. He's in the back right between Marcela and Kate. And last but not least, not pictured, I believe, is Rey Lopez Calderon, who's a new board member we're really lucky to have. We've really benefited from his fundraising expertise and strategic thinking, as well as organizing chops. So if you want to go to the next slide, for those of you who might be new to Cal RCV, this is just a refresher on our existing strategy. So one of the things that we started out with at the beginning of our retreat was to reaffirm our vision, our mission, our 2028 goal, as well as our principles. So our vision is a California where all residents feel represented and heard, and we seek to expand the use of RCV to all Californians to ensure that we have a greater voice in our democracy. And in particular, by 2028, we're hoping to pass ranked choice voting for statewide elections. So we continue to be guided by that vision, mission, and goals. If you want to go to the next slide, the other thing that we affirmed is that we are going to continue to use what we call our media market strategy. And what that means is that to build the momentum we need for a statewide initiative, we are seeking to expand local experience and support among voters in each of these areas of the state, because we believe that will enhance buy-in for a statewide RCV ballot measure by 2028. So as you may know, the Bay Area is the only media market on this list that is saturated with cities using RCV to elect their local officials. We also have a toehold in LA County via Redondo and in North State via Eureka. So we've got our work cut out for us, but we think this is a really good strategy to win on the statewide ballot by 2028. Next slide. So one of the things that we did at the retreat was to identify how we would prioritize amongst all of those amazing places that could benefit from RCV. And we clarified that the following, we think, are must-haves in terms of cities that we would want to invest in between now and November 2028 for, or in other words, where does it make sense strategically for us to really put our energy into for this year? So the first, of course, is that it should be aligned with our goals, both campaign goals as well as fundraising goals, and our capacity, right? So that limits us to a certain number of places. The second is that it should contribute toward that media market coverage. So a media market that doesn't currently have RCV and really sizable enough to influence or saturate the media market, or the potential to do so with other small cities. Another thing is that we believe it's really important, we're committed in CalRCV to ensuring that we are not coming in and forcing RCV on people, that there's a local desire to resolve a salient problem, and that electoral change through RCV is a viable solution to resolving that locally perceived problem. And finally, we want to make sure that there's receptivity for RCV amongst elected officials and grass top community leaders and voters. So there are a few nice to haves or things that really facilitate RCV in a place. One is having an organizing table, which is a coalition of community groups that collaborate to achieve shared goals like policy change. Another is it being a charter city. You could say that that's a must-have or that it's a nice to have, but what makes a charter city different from other cities is that they have gone through the effort to write their own laws called a charter, and that enables them to easily choose to change their election methods, for example, to RCV. Other nice to haves are CalRCV having direct relationships or connections with elected officials, with community leaders, with community members, or even being from one of those communities, and contributing toward county readiness for RCV. So drum roll, please. We applied these criteria and we selected the following places for our priority campaigns between now and November. So first, San Jose and the broader Santa Clara County, also Sunnyvale and Mountain View fit those criteria in the county. Second, the city of San Bernardino within the Inland Empire media market. And finally, Chula Vista and Carlsbad in San Diego County. Now, as the slide said, this represents 2.6 million people, which would more than double the 1.6 million people in California currently enjoying the benefits of RCV. So if we're successful in these target cities, 4.2 million people, or almost 11% of California's 40 million, would be on track to elect their local representatives using RCV by November 2024. So that's where I would like to hand it over to Tom to tell you a little bit more about each of these campaigns. Thanks all.
Awesome. Thank you, Althea. Yeah, so by the way, we are going to have time for Q&A. We built in some time for that in this presentation a little later on. So Althea just talked about our big picture focus cities for 2024. Which I am really excited about. Of course, we don't know for sure that these will actually, that we're going to get on the ballot necessarily, but we think we have a good shot at it. I'm going to talk a little bit about these focus cities and kind of what's been going on so far and just give a little context on each one. But before I do that, I also want to call out that we work on a number of other cities that are not our focus cities for 2024 through a group called RCV for Your City. So that's one of the organizations, like teams, that gets together, and that is made up of a number of volunteers that live in cities around the state and want to bring RCV to their own cities. And those cities are either on the small side or they're very, very early in the pre-campaign phase. Like we haven't really established that there's a lot of community interest in bringing RCV yet, for example. And we call those RCV for Your City cities. And so call out here that a lot of these cities, and again, the list changes, week to week, month to month, as things get more interesting and less interesting. But right now in Ventura County, we have a number of volunteers that are working on the city of Ventura itself, Port Unimi. I think I said it right. I hope someone correct me if I'm wrong. Fillmore, and Ojai, which actually has already voted in proportional ranked choice voting. But there's kind of a long story of implementation that needs continuing support there. Sunnyvale, Sacramento, Antioch, San Clemente, Richmond are all cities that there's some level of effort going on. And the two call outs I want to make are, number one, if you are in or near any of these cities and want to work with the local volunteers who are working on bringing RCV to those cities, reach out to Paul Copley, and that's Paul at calrcv.org. And if you are interested in taking on the significant amount of effort and time it will take to try to bring RCV to your city, if you're interested in pursuing that, then you can also reach out to Jim Lindsay, and that's Jim at calrcv.org. And he will kind of do an intake with you and check, is your city a good fit at all, to make an effort in? And then if it is, he will get you connected in with the RCV for your city folks. Okay, so that's RCV for your city, which are the smaller cities. Let's talk about the focus cities. So the biggest single one is actually not a city, it's the county of Santa Clara, which is Silicon Valley, right? It's the South Bay area. And there's been ongoing work in Santa Clara County for literally decades, thanks to Steve Chesson, who's here tonight. Hello, Steve. But it's gotten a lot more active in the past 18 months or so. And if you've been to Statewide's, these meetings last year, you would have heard us talk about kind of what's going on in Santa Clara County. It's been a long and winding journey. First of all, we've been talking to county supervisors, but then we actually found out we had to go to Sacramento and run a bill to clarify that a charter county actually can choose its own election system, because unlike charter cities, that's not as clear in the state constitution. So to make it clear for Santa Clara County only, we went to Sacramento. We ran it through the assembly. You can see here that we got strong majority, bipartisan support for Santa Clara County being able to adopt RCV. Similarly in the California Senate. And then Governor Newsom did sign this bill. He did not veto it, which was a huge win in and of itself. And it's part of why we very narrowly defined just Santa Clara County for this bill. So that was great. That happened last October. And since then, we've been in communication with the Board of Supervisors, and it's looking like we have a pretty good shot this year. We may have to go to the ballot. We were thinking that we might have been able to go straight through the Board of Supervisors in a unique fluke because of a bill that Steve Chesson got, or not a bill, a measure that got passed way back in 1998. But there's been a lot of back and forth about whether that needs to be another ballot measure or not. Right now, I would say it's more likely than not that it will be a ballot measure, which means it's a campaign, which is good and bad news, right? So that leads into three charter cities in Santa Clara County, where we think we've got a reasonably good shot of having those city councils also put RCV on the ballot for those cities. That's San Jose, Sunnyvale, and Mountain View. And so what we may end up with this November is kind of a twofer campaign, where we're campaigning across the county of Santa Clara for RCV at the county level. And then also in the biggest city in Santa Clara County, about half the population of the whole county is in San Jose. And then 2 other mid-sized cities, they're charter cities, Sunnyvale and Mountain View, both in the county. So we may end up kind of doing this very interesting multi-level campaign at different levels of government for the same reform happening. So really interesting things going on in Santa Clara County. And then I'm going to hand it over to Kate, who is down in the San Diego area and is going to talk about a couple of cities that are focus cities down there. Kate?
Hi, yeah, thank you. So the city of Chula Vista in San Diego, as well as the city of Carlsbad in North County, San Diego. So we've got the almost all the way down to the border and really almost at the top of the county, these 2 cities. And we've found significant community support and some elected official interest in this, depending upon the city. And we have joined with Represent Us and Veterans for All Voters and Cal RCV, and pulled together a small group of us that are working with citizens, residents in each of these cities to build up community support for the idea of putting these on the ballot in 2024. It's probably ballot-wise, making an initiative and getting enough signatures is likely more possible in the city of Carlsbad, although Chula Vista has had a couple of recent problems that they wanted to solve. So that's one of our must-haves, a problem that they wanted to solve where there was vote splitting and the actual person elected didn't really end up representing the full like, I guess, the majority of the voters. So each one of these cities has unique characteristics. And we are working, actually, a couple people are here tonight. Dan Wilson is here, who's helping up in Carlsbad. And I think, I didn't see if Joe Fitzgerald and Amy Tobia are here, but they're all helping with the city of Chula Vista and the city of Carlsbad. And I will pass it back to Tom.
To me, yeah, thanks, Kate. And the other, excuse me, the other focus city for 2024 is the city of San Bernardino. And this one, I'm not actually super plugged into what's going on in the city of San Bernardino right now, but we have also been working on this one for some time. There is local community interest. We've got grasstops groups, grasstops leaders of groups that are quite interested in bringing ranked choice voting to San Bernardino. And, you know, Kate talked about why in Chula Vista and Carlsbad, people want to bring RCV to those cities. San Bernardino, I didn't talk about it in Santa Clara County and San Jose and Sunnyvale, but it's a similar dynamic, a similar, you know, reason to want to bring RCV to San Bernardino and the South Bay cities and county is, you know, all the benefits of ranked choice voting, the impact it has on representation, the impact it has on making elections or campaigns, I should say, less negative, giving people more choice and more power, you know. But one of the biggest things is that in each of these places, we're proposing that you eliminate the primary completely, right? And so that has a big impact on representation, on the diversity of the electorate, and giving people the most voters who show up at the November general election the most choice. That's really, you know, the reason why people want RCV, you know, wherever RCV is being implemented, but especially in these cities here in California. And so we are working with an organizing table in San Bernardino that is focused on bringing RCV. And so we're going to be partnering with this organizing table. It's a group called Inland Empire United. And there's still a lot of work to be done in that city. We don't know that we've got council support at this point. So we have to continue to work on that. But, we've got a great coalition there. And so hopefully lots of good things are going to be coming out there as well. And with that, so we've talked about all the focus cities. So what are some of the milestones? What are things going to look like this year? So let me just call out that the process we need to go through is that the governing body of that city or that county, so a city council or a board of supervisors in Santa Clara County's case, they need the approach that we take to get a ballot measure for RCV onto the ballot for November is we work with those governing bodies so that they will refer the ballot measure. You can also get on the ballot through signature gathering, right? Through a citizens initiative. We don't generally do that in most cities because it's very expensive. And it frankly means that you weren't able to get the city council to be supportive of RCV. And so they may fight it, even if you do get enough signatures to put it on the ballot. You may have an uphill battle during the campaign because you may have, the elected leaders of that place actually opposing you. So we don't want to do that, right? Whenever we can, we want to be working with electeds and have them place this on the ballot and support it, right, during the campaign process. And the deadline to get placed on the ballot by a city council is sometime in August, typically. And so it really means the summer is our opportunity to make sure that we've done all the work we need to do to convince local electeds that they should put a measure on the ballot and let voters choose to move to ranked choice voting. And so the rest of the spring and into the early summer, it's very much still an inside baseball strategy, right? It's a lot of talking to city councilors. It's a lot of talking to community leaders, grass tops leaders, so on and so forth, that will continue to go on. And then we'll know over the summer whether we're going to get on the ballot or not in each of these focus cities and maybe in other cities, right, from RCV for your city, or maybe other, sometimes you get lucky. Things fortuitously happen. You get RCV put on the ballot in cities you didn't expect as well. And so we'll know all that coming this summer. And by August, we will know what campaigns we are going to have the opportunity to either run or, support, depending on if there's a local organization that is going to drive the campaign. And so that's just kind of an overview of the timeline. And then once we get on the ballot come summer, then we need to campaign to get these ballot measures passed. And we're going to be going through the work of putting together campaign budgets for these focus cities. But I'll say that right now, a simple rule of thumb is assume 50 cents per resident of the city. Yeah, we ran the campaign in Redondo Beach last year for RCV and won, but with a 76% support of RCV. And that's what we spent there, was about 50 cents per resident. Again, very rough number. But if you take the 2.6 million people that we're talking about bringing RCV to through our focus cities and the county this fall, then we're looking at needing to raise about $1.3 million to run those campaigns. It's a significant amount of money, obviously. And we already have some pledges from partner organizations that they will support campaigns in these cities. We're working to secure commitments from larger donors and institutions, but some of this is going to need to come from people like you and me, right? Grassroots donors, right? Individuals that give money to support these campaigns. And again, we're going to know what campaigns specifically we're going to be running come the summer. But of course, it wouldn't be a nonprofit meeting if we didn't also point out that you can donate today. And I want to call out specifically an opportunity that if you start a new or you increase your monthly donation to Cal RCV, which this money can be used towards these campaigns in the fall. If you're donating to the California RCV Coalition, which is our 501c4, which is, if you go to this link and donate, that's what you'll be donating to, is our 501c4 nonprofit, which can put money towards these campaigns. Then we currently have a donor that has offered to match every new or increased recurring donation. So if you're already making a donation, please think about increasing that amount, and it's going to be doubled. If you're not making recurring donations to Cal RCV, whether it's $5 a month or $25 a month or $100 a month, if you will make that donation, we have a donor that will double that tonight. And so please scan that QR code or go to the link that you see there, or as is shared in chat, and make a donation, and your donation will be doubled for going forward, not just this one time. It's not just this month, but going forward, your donation will be doubled. So please, that would be amazing, because that's going to help every little bit fund the efforts that we're going to need to make into this fall. Okay, and with that, I am going to hand it over to Jess Montgomery.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jess, and I'm here to talk about some of the wonderful events that we have coming up for the rest of this month. To sign up for these or to see a full list of our events, you can go to the Mobilize link that's at the top right of this slide. And to kick us off, this Saturday, we are having an afternoon meet and greet in Ventura County. This will be a great opportunity to meet other RCV supporters, to talk about strategy and discuss local efforts. So if you are local to that area, we hope to see you there. Next Saturday, we're going to be gathering in San Diego County to celebrate the new year and talk about the big things on the horizon for RCV in 2024. If you can't make it in person, that is okay. There's also going to be a Zoom event held that same night by Rank the Vote. Or you could take matters into your own hands and host an RCV house party for your friends and family. On Tuesday, January 23rd, 1-2-3, we'll be celebrating RCV Day, and that's going to be done by a Reddit AMA. If you're not familiar with that, it's essentially a part of Reddit where you can ask experts anything. And it's a really fun event. I think we're still working on some of the details of this, like what time it's going to start and what sub it's going to be on, but keep your eyes peeled for more details. It's a really fun way to educate folks about RCV and get them really excited about it. If you want to help out with this event, feel free to shoot us an email at info@calrcv.org. Lastly, on Saturday, January 27th, for those over the age of 21, we'll be hosting a cocktail party in Los Angeles County where you can witness the magic of RCV in motion by voting on your favorite drinks of the evening. This sounds really fun. So if I were in LA County, I would certainly be there. All right, next slide. Cool. So here you'll find a QR code for our Mobilize page. That's, again, a really easy way to see our full list of events, not all of which we talked about tonight. So definitely check there. There's some good stuff. You can find more information and RSVP on our Mobilize. And down below, you can find the QR code to sign up for the RCV 2024 event that's hosted by Rank the Vote. There are a lot more events on the horizon. So again, please keep checking back with us. And if you'd like to help host or organize an event, or you just have a really cool idea for something we should do, please get in touch with us. Again, the email address is info@calrcv.com. At that, I will pass it back to Althea, Kate, and Tom for a Q&A.
Fantastic. Thanks, Jess. So yeah, we have gone through all the facts. You have all the facts now. So if you have questions, if you have ideas, if you wonder about any of these cities that we've been talking about, now is the time. You can either just raise your hand in the chat or in your Zoom raise hand area and ask it verbally, but you can also just put any questions you have in the chat. We have Rush who is monitoring the chat right now, and we'll make sure that we get to your questions. So what do we have?
We have our first question in the chat. How many people have signed up the RCV petition to date?
Kate, you want to take that one, or shall I?
Well, I will give you numbers so far. We have over 3,500 supporters in our database. We're nearing probably closer to 3,800 by now. Our goal for the year 2024 is 10,000 supporters, and we are working on ways to make sure that we get more people to sign up to be a supporter. And anything else you would like to say? You use the word petition, and I think I'll let Tom describe that.
Sorry, Kate, can you repeat that last bit?
Yeah, you said, so I was just saying that the question used the word, how many people have signed up for the RCV petition to date? We have this many supporters in our database, and if you want to talk about that idea of petition, it would be great.
Yeah, so a great question. The word petition has both a specific legal meaning and sort of a general colloquial meaning. So let me clarify on this. So petition, the legal meaning of this is when you do a citizens initiative, whether that's at the city level, the county level, or the state level, then someone signing a petition that has specific language related to a ballot measure that's been approved by Secretary of State or various authorities that need to actually approve that depending on the level that we're operating at. That's a petition for a specific ballot measure to put RCV on the ballot in a given place. So there's that, and I'm not sure. Ron, if you were asking about that, the short answer, if we're talking about the legal petition concept, is it would be unique for each ballot measure. And so far, CalRCV, in our 2 years of existence, we haven't actually run any legal citizens initiative ballot measures. Then there's the more colloquial use of the term petition, which is when we are out canvassing and tabling, and when people sign up on our website, we often will refer to what they're putting their name down on, not actually a signature, as a petition, right? And that's the colloquial use of like, sign a petition saying that you support ranked choice voting, not for a specific ballot measure to go on the ballot somewhere in the state, but just generally that you support it. And we do refer to that like on our clipboards. A lot of times our volunteers will say, do you want to sign a petition saying that you support ranked choice voting? And again, we're not actually gathering signatures. We're asking people to put down their information, and then they're noted as a supporter. That's that 3,500, 3,800 number that Kate was mentioning earlier, includes people who have signed a petition or at some point along the way have expressed interest in supporting the organization.
Great. We
Thank you,
have
Tom.
some more questions in the chat. Rosh, do you want to read whatever is?
Yeah, let me go through from the top. So Mickey asked the question: why would an early elected official or already elected official who was elected under the current system support RCV?
Great one. Kate, you want to?
I mean, I think there are just some enlightened elected officials that understand that it is a good idea, especially in this current day and age of a lot of polarization and the benefits that ranked choice voting can bring. So not every elected official is against ranked choice voting. We do find that often you approach an elected official, and because they know how to get elected in the current system, they don't want something different. But on occasion, you do find people who think it's a great idea.
Maybe just to add to that, I think also, you know, if people believe they would have won using RCV, they're more open to it as well. So there are cases where people won in the old system and think they would win under RCV as well. And so because there are lots of reasons in the current, you know, context to think that RCV is beneficial, they're open to it.
Okay, I'm going to bring up two more questions from the chat, and then we'll take some of the people who've raised their hands. Philip Townsend asks, are there any efforts starting or going in Tulare County? And I don't know of any. I go to the RCV for your city meetings. I haven't heard of any. But Philip, if you're interested, it sounds like you need to connect with the RCV for your city efforts. We can certainly provide you the information so you can get in touch with Jim. Next question, we have Dave, who's asking about the media market strategy. If the point is to get coverage of RCV in the various media markets, is it a problem if the campaigns are in cities not often covered with their media markets? Santa Clara County, for example, generally gets less coverage than it deserves based on its population in the Bay Area. And I guess, but don't know, that Chula Vista and Carlsbad may not get as much coverage as San Diego. What are your thoughts?
I can take a stab at that one.
Yeah, do.
All right. So, or Althea, since you talked about the prioritization that we went through, do you want to talk about this a little bit?
I would love it if you would start, Tom, and if there's something that I think is important, I'd be happy to add.
Great. Yeah. So the short answer is, you know, the prioritization that we go through is multiple different factors, right? And a huge part of that is what's the appetite locally, right? Of electeds, of community leaders who have the ears of electeds. What's the appetite locally? So, you know, this is not a you know, run down the list of and pick your ideal city in every media market. It'd be amazing if it were, but also, you know, Althea pointed out earlier, like this has to be a poll, right? This has to be something that people in the community are interested in doing. We can't force it down anyone's throats. And so we have to weigh multiple factors. Ideally, the media market cities are going to be larger cities in those markets where there will be press coverage about a campaign, right? So we're going to get the voters in that particular city very familiar with RCV because of all the campaign, you know, the direct campaign effort in that city. But then we want the spillover effect in other areas around, because we know from experience that you get clustering of cities, right? It's not a coincidence that San Francisco and Berkeley and Oakland and San Leandro and Albany, all of which are very close together, all have RCV and all adopted it in, you know, in a relatively similar amount of time. That's the spillover effect that we're trying to get in the media markets, in part. And so, you know, you bring up Santa Clara County, maybe punches below its weight, but Santa Clara County critically is a huge chunk of the Bay Area. And I mean, the Bay Area, just like Southern California, is so big, it's actually multiple media markets. We kind of called it one big media market, but it's actually separate, right? San Jose and South Bay is its own media market, separate from the East Bay, separate from San Francisco. And the peninsula, depending on what you're talking about, mixes either with South Bay or with the city of San Francisco.
So I would just add two things to that. Thanks, Tom, for that great answer. One is that, what's in parentheses, in other words, not on the slide about the sizable enough to influence and saturate the media market is, or can do so with other small cities, right? Because there is this sort of one leads to another, and when you get several small cities, then you start to saturate into that media market. So that's one sort of part of the strategy. And then the other piece, which I'll just mention as a little plug for Richmond, which is part of Richmond for Your City, is, even though Richmond is part of the East Bay media market, it would contribute toward readying Contra Costa County, just like Antioch would. I think Antioch is also in Contra Costa. And so, that makes it a nice to have RCV for Your city, even though it's part of the same media market. So just to sort of reinforce the point that Tom made, that it is multifaceted and really depends strongly on what that local problem and local interest is.
Thanks, guys. Okay, Chuck and Rajani will come to your questions in a moment. Amy, you have your hand up. Please go ahead.
Yes, I was just curious about in the receptivity of elected officials. Do you have any guidelines on if an elected won by 60%, is that then a signal that that guy's not going to be worried about it, or do you have any tips on how do you tell, but how do you prepare yourself for going in and talking to an elected about their receptivity? Who would, do you check out who endorses them? Any tips on that?
Kate, you want to take a stab?
I do not have that sort of information in my head. I'm too new to this situation. So I feel like there are some experts on this call, though, that could give us some tips.
Hint, hint, Steve, Tom, anyone want to jump in?
I didn't call them out by name, but yeah. John.
Steve, you want to answer?
Can you repeat the
Steve
question
is
on the
getting
two
ready.
meetings at the same time?
Oh, there you go. He's tied up. He can't do it.
No, I'm here. Just tell me what the question was.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, I was just asking if there's any things we can look for, like say, if I wanted to get a feeling for if my city would be interested in ranked choice voting, and the city council and mayor, if I was to, could I do research on what percentages each city council member was elected by? Would that give me any hint? And maybe, from cities and counties where you got it passed, are there some similar aspects to the electeds that make an elected someone who might lean towards ranked choice voting because they don't feel it's a threat to them? And
Exactly.
then you could hone in on where might be possible new cities to try out.
Yeah, well, the low-hanging fruit is a charter city that has district elections and uses 2-round runoff in those district elections. So they have a primary followed by a runoff. And it's low-hanging fruit because if they go to ranked choice voting, it saves them the cost of a second election. And that's a big sell. What you need to look for in those cities are people who got elected, that it went to a runoff, that the primary election was very close. They either came in second in the primary and then won in the runoff, or they did come in first in the primary, but it was only a few percentage points above whoever came in second, and then it got really nasty in the runoff. Those will be the kind of people who will be predisposed to perhaps not liking ranked choice voting because they credit their win to being able to have a runoff election.
So conversely, would that be true that someone who wins by 10 points or some percentage point might be someone who you could expect might want to support it?
they would feel less threatened by it, and they may like the idea, especially if they didn't like the idea that they had to do 2 rounds of campaigning. That's a selling point. I mean, we've got supervisors in Santa Clara County whose first elections to the Board of Supervisors did go to runoffs, and one is adamantly opposed to ranked choice voting, and one loves ranked choice voting. So, you can't really tell, but it really is. I wouldn't say it's determinative, but it is a good indicator of how they might feel. I hope that answers the question.
Thank you, Steve.
Yeah, and let me make another plug for RCV for your city, because if you reach out to Jim or Paul, those 2 email addresses that we shared earlier, reach out to either of them about coming to RCV for your city meetings. In those meetings, we get into that kind of stuff, right? Like how to do the research, how to find out who to reach out to, looking back at their election history and sort of interpreting what might their position be or what might their feelings be about reforms like ranked choice voting based on that. And then coaching on how to actually go have a conversation with that council member and what to go in, and talk about in the first place. And, we as citizens can do that, right? We have the power and the ability to go sit with our city council members and talk to them. And there are things that we need to do legally around that, even as volunteers around the Brown Act, but we cover that in RCV for your city as well. So
is there a specific training on that? Is there a specific training on, doing that research and finding those points, that coaching on what you would talk to your member about?
Yeah, so the RCV for your city group meets every Wednesday at 10:30, I think, if I remember correctly. It's 10 a.m. Thank you. 10 a.m. every Wednesday. And reach out to your best person to reach out to is Jim at calrcv.org. That's Jim Lindsay. Reach out to him and he can get you, he'll want to talk to you first about the city and find out, is it even like a fit at all to make an effort? And then if it is, then he'll get you tied into those meetings. And yes, that's in those meetings. We've got a bunch of documents and like reference files, and then the group talks about that, week in and week out, answering people's questions and going through that, all of that.
Amy, you're in either Oceanside or Carlsbad, if I remember right, correct? I think Oceanside. Is that right?
No, I'm City of Encinitas.
Oh, City of Encinitas. Great. Okay, perfect. I met you in Carlsbad.
Right.
Yeah, so definitely the resources through RCV for your city are good. With our Carlsbad meetings that we're having right now, they're just monthly, but those are the types of things that we're going to workshop in those meetings, and those meetings will become more often. So potentially, if you want like some face-to-face time, I can let you know about those when we get into that. But I think ranked choice RCV for your city is manned by or handled by really great experts with deep knowledge and lots of information and documents. So it's great.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go to a few questions. We have a few minutes left. A couple of questions in the chat. I will mention one because it was just asked recently, but I think it's important for us to bring up. Is there really a difference between someone donating to the non-deductible versus deductible or tax deductible site on our website? The answer is yes, of course, there's a difference. There's the non-deductible is what the money, the larger sum of money that we actually need for being able to run the campaigns and pass RCV for the various media markets that we've mentioned. So that's our number one priority. However, if you'd like to donate to our C3, essentially the deductible tax donations you can make, that goes towards the educational efforts around ranked choice voting that we conduct as well. So both would be appreciated. Our greatest need, though, is for the non-tax deductible donations. So we have two other questions. We have one from Chuck Cole. Can city leaders change voting to RCV just within at the city council level, as opposed to having a citywide vote? That's the question.
I'll give a high-level answer to that. In general, no. Most of the time, you do need to you need to run a ballot measure, right? You need to put it to a vote of the people to change an election system. There are occasionally exceptions to that rule. San Leandro, I believe, being an example, where the city council there actually did pass it themselves because they happen to have the authority in their charter, but it's not particularly common. That's the kind of thing that we are happy to help research, right? If you're in a charter city, you can reach out to us. And again, like RCV for your city, part of that is the research work that goes into, is the city a good fit? And one of those things would be reviewing the city's charter, understanding what it can and can't do, you know, like basically what's the path to getting it implemented. But as a general rule, in almost all cases, you do need to have a ballot measure and run a campaign for it.
Thanks, Tom. Next question, we got answered in the chat, but I want to highlight it for everyone else. Rajani asked if there are other ways other than donating directly to get involved with the fundraising efforts. So certainly we have a fundraising team, and you can get involved with that if you're interested. We are looking for volunteers overall within the organization. So if you have other interests, expertise, skills, things that you're interested in, we can certainly find a home for you. And if you want to, other than donation, you want to get involved in some way, I'm going to put the general email that we have. It's info@calrcv.org. You're welcome to send an email there, and we'll respond back and get you engaged. I don't see any other questions. Is there anything else you guys want to ask?
Or say? So,
Say?
Arash, I'm wondering if Kate just wants to speak briefly about the fact that we're working on some volunteer sort of job descriptions and when those will be available. So again, if you're interested in getting involved, we've got some profiles of different kinds of volunteers that we'd love to get you engaged as. So Kate.
Sure, yes. So we have compiled a set of job descriptions, but they're not quite ready for prime time. They're not going to be on the website quite yet. But for an overall picture, we need people with general admin skills. We need bilingual people in many different languages. We need people who are interested in going out and helping us get more supporters. So sort of that frontline hosting, tabling, or canvassing. Even if you're not ready to be the lead on that, we need people to help when you see an occasion to volunteer and you can get out to a farmer's market or just a simple tabling event, come and help us sign up new supporters. So those are the types of things that we're really looking for. On occasion, we need people with technical computer skills. We don't need a lot of that, but if that is your thing, we want to know about you, because when we need you, we need you. So we'll get you onboarded and figure out how to make use of your skills. So yeah, we definitely need people. Please email info@calrcv.com, just like Arash put into the chat, and let us know that you're interested in volunteering, and you will get a telephone call from one of us. That's what we need, people to call new volunteers and onboard them. We'll train you how to do it. So all sorts of things.
And look at that, we're at the top of the hour. I don't see any other questions, so it's back to you, Kate.
Okay, well, thank you so much for coming to the January 2024 Let's Kick Off the New Year right for RCV session. We've enjoyed having you here. Some of us are going to hang out and just chat if you have any sort of less pressing questions, or you didn't feel like you wanted to ask them in front of 47 people or something like that. You're welcome to stay on. If you just want to chat about your favorite parts about ranked choice voting and what got you involved, that's nice too. We'll be here for just a little while longer as well. So thank you, everybody.
Woohoo!
Thanks, everyone.
Right, I officially have my non-alcoholic beer out. I'm ready.
I have my clear beer. It's water.
There you go. All right. Good stuff.
Hey guys, this is Dan Wilson down here in San Diego. I just want to thank Steve Chesson for helping explain that question about city charters. Steve, is there a governing document for, generally for most cities in California, or is each one unique? Because as I said, we must have got bad poop from somebody that said Carlsbad can change it by city council vote.
Well, there's two issues there. If the city charter says that the council can change election procedures by ordinance, then the election procedures can be changed by city council vote, but that's not changing the charter. The question that you put in the chat was changing the charter. Changing the charter can only be done by a vote of the people. It has to be a ballot measure. So I'd have to take a look at the charter of the city that you're talking about. You said Carlsbad?
Yeah, I'll get it. I can do some more research, Steve. I got that from another group, part of our coalition down here. And I feel bad that we just briefed that they could change it. But the question is that, the word we got was that they won't. So that was why we're going to have to, we don't even think they'll put it on the ballot, that we're going to have to get petitions down here. So, but I'm just trying to make sure, and I've talked to Kate a lot about this, we got to make sure that we do our intel gathering beforehand and that we're not wrong. So
Well,
I feel a little bit bad about maybe giving bad information to a group the other night.
well, like I say, you need to see what it says in the charter. And even if the charter says that the election procedures can be changed by ordinance, that doesn't mean the city council is going to do that, but you can always
Right.
put an ordinance on the ballot by a petition effort. And that actually requires fewer signatures than a charter amendment.
Okay.
Uh,
Well, if you don't mind, I'm just trying to get smart on all this. And if you don't mind, if I reach out to you and you can help me understand and get smarter.
Dan, if
Or
you're
you
ever
can come-
available for the RCV or in your city, that was the one that I proposed, that when you had all of those questions, that if you have time on a Wednesday morning, the people who work with that RCV for your city group really either know a lot or know exactly where to find the information and help us parse it. So
Okay.
I have not had a chance to go to any of those on behalf of Carlsbad or Chula Vista, but it would be a great next step if you're available, or if not, we'll figure out somebody in our groups that are.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't tracking that. It's Wednesdays? What time? And
At
where?
Wednesdays at 10 a.m. And I'm one of the people who participates. in
Okay,
it.
great. And it's on Mobilize, or where can I find that?
It's
how to
on
log in,
Zoom.
register?
Email Jim at galrcv.org.
Yep,
Okay.
that's. Yep.
But it is on Mobilize as well.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Mickey's got her hand up.
Yeah, I asked the question before, why would an elected official go to a new voting measure after they've been elected by the old one? And I think there are some situations, for example, they may be running for higher office, in which ranked choice voting might be really helpful for them. They also might sense that the people in their county, I'm thinking Santa Clara, support ranked choice voting, and they might want to go along with the rising approval of ranked choice voting. So I think there are influences that can change these people's minds that are it's pretty subtle, but I think we shouldn't give up on them.
Agreed. John, you have your hand up.
Yeah. Hi. Thanks for a nice meeting. Happy New Year to everybody. I'm curious. I'm working with Rank the Vote quite a bit, and they've had tremendous success on a. I apologize if I already asked this or I've asked you about this before, Tom, but I don't know if I have. They're using a texting campaign to. Using some sort of consultant in a social media texting campaign to build their lists. And it's something like you get 75 cents on the dollar back virtually immediately. And then you have that person forever, and the payback is usually within, I think, 18 months you've gotten your money back. And then everything after that is kind of gravy in terms of donations. And don't ask me to quote numbers, but early signs are it's really a tremendously effective way for us to build our list. And I'm just wondering if, they may be able to, what the list that they're building may be transferable down to you guys, but that you guys might want to undertake something similar to build your list, your California list, and build the attendance, something like this, but also sort of all the efforts that you enumerated in this meeting, that some of those people end up populating those efforts.
Yep. Do you know, John, is that Movement Labs? Is that the group that they're working with on that?
Say it again.
Movement Labs.
I don't think so.
So, okay, because Rank the Vote just did a training, or maybe it's coming up. I forget exactly what it is, but they were doing some training around something that sounds similar. The short answer to your question, John, is I haven't heard. I haven't talked to Nathan or Monica about specifically this. I don't know if maybe Jim or Kate or anybody else has, but if they are seeing success with that approach, then yeah, it's something we absolutely would want to look at. I know there are other things we're looking at doing in that same vein, right? To grow supporters online through digital, through texting, through email, through social, things like that. Because right now we're growing mostly through canvassing and tabling, which is a great way to do it, but also, takes a lot of work. And the other way we can do it, part of it is we'd love to know if it works well or not, because, it's an investment. You're going to put at least a few $1,000s into an effort, and then you got to wait a while to see if that is going to pay off at all.
Yeah, and it definitely does require that, and it's, like I said, I think you get your money back in 18 months or something, but you still got to come up with that front money to do it. And if you're going to do it, you want to sort of have a decent amount of, I don't know if it'd be worth it if you could do a couple $1,000s a month or something like that. What that gets you in terms of numbers, and if it would be worth doing a campaign, that size. And I know that money's not trivial either for a state organization. But anyway, I might let me. I'm going to be talking to Nathan, I think, on Monday, and I'll just mention to him I brought it up with you, and
please,
to see how they're handling the state organizations with regard to this issue. I mean, I know they're going through this massive effort to try to get their list from, up to as much as 100,000 names, and they're doing that by working with other partner organizations. And so I think there may be this kind of two-way street of they're getting some names and giving them to the states, and the states are getting some names and giving them to them, trying to come up with a bigger database for everybody to use.
Yeah. Okay, great. Yeah, John, that would be great. Thank you. All right. Are there any other questions? We could all just sit around and watch Arash drink his non-alcoholic beer, or maybe not. Maybe people don't want to do that. I think I'm about
to go. It's time.
Yeah.
Good to see everybody.
Bye, Kate.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. I love seeing new faces. I love seeing the same
great.
folks that work day in and day out on this stuff. So thank you.
Adios.
Thanks. Have a good night, everybody.
Bye.
Good night.